Welcome to the Anthony Lee Crypto Channel. If you enjoy this content, I would appreciate it if you click the like and subscribe button and click that notification bell. Let's jump right into it. Today we're going to be looking at the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, as this is an important chart to look at with where we are in the cycle. You're probably familiar with this CoinMarketCap Fear and Greed Index. Today we're at a 36. However, just a few days ago, we reached a low of 25. As you can see right here, 25 was our low for this current dip in fear. If we flip over to another fear and greed chart, we get a little bit more history here. I have taken the liberty of going back 5 years in time and marking out each and every time we reach a level of 30 or below in fear. I marked those out because those indicate extreme fear, and as you can see, each one of these led to a very nice rally. Now, you see these two shaded areas here, one here and one here. These indicate bear markets, at which time we spent most of our time below 30 on the fear meter. So those are not relevant to now because obviously we're in a bull market, not a bear market. So we won't really go into those too much. Here in the middle of last cycle, you can see a period of time, about 3 months, where we spent most of the time below 30. Some people consider this a mini bear market. Whether you do or don't, we spent most of the time here, but as you can see, big rallies up from that point. Now, we are currently at 36 on our fear and greed meter, coming up from that 25 low. And let's look at each time we've come out of these 30 or less fear metrics. Now, at the bottom of the bear market, or bottom-ish of the bear market, whenever we get that low and we come up, we get these crazy rallies on Bitcoin, 500, almost 600%. The last one in this current bear market to bull market so far, about 400% from now that's not from the bottom, this is from the last 30 or less reading on the fear and greed index. But those really aren't applicable, in my opinion, to where we are now, because we are much closer to the top, in my opinion, than we are the bottom down here. So let's look at some of the moves we've gotten towards the end of the previous cycle when the fear and greed index hit below 30. As you can see on this very last one in September of 21, we got a move from Bitcoin of about 75%, 74%, not too bad. Even in here, when we got this little move back in March of this year, we got a move of about 16%, not too bad. Even on the last move where we reached below 30, we came out to about a 68, 69% move up. So that should let you know that we are in for a good move. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen today or tomorrow. This took time. We're looking at this on the 5-day time frame. So, the last one took a good while for a 70% move. As a matter of fact, it took 38 bars. So 38 bars times, so it's about 190 days. I don't think we have that much longer in the cycle. Of traditional cycles typically end for Bitcoin in November or December, which gives us probably less than 60 days. So what can we do to kind of calculate where we could go from there? Let's say we even took the smallest pump from 30 or less fear and greed, and that's going to give us that 16% move up. That's going to put us somewhere in the area of 120K, which would mean that the top was already in for Bitcoin. However, only one time in history has a fear and greed of 30 or below not led to an all-time high, and that was in the last cycle when it was over. No one knew it was over at the time, but from this January of 2022, from that low in fear and greed, we did get a rally of 48%. So if this were the end of the cycle and it were to repeat something similar, we got a 48% rally off the low, we would be looking somewhere in the area of 150K. Now, that would put you back to an all-time high, but numbers are similar there. So, I'd be looking somewhere in that area if we do break all-time high. If the cycle is over and we're about to trend to a bear market, I'd probably be looking in that area somewhere of the 16% move around 120K. Let's throw a fib on this, see if there's any confluence there. Yeah, we got big confluence there. If we were to come back up somewhere between this 118K to 121K range, that'd be perfect with the last fear and greed dip down below 30. We'd come in there somewhere around the 16% range. That'd be a good area to kind of maybe be looking for a rejection, something like this, and reject, and then come on back down, and you could head on into your bear market there. If not, and the cycle is not over, and I'm not saying it is over, guys, at least for Bitcoin, we would look to come and probably find some resistance there, something like this, and then we'd break to an all-time high, going somewhere in the area of 140 to 150K, which would match up with the fear and greed from the last cycle on the last fear and greed move before you went to a bear market. So after that move, you could probably be looking for a bear market. This should be the last move up on Bitcoin before we head on downtown and see what's going on in that bear market. So this has been your fear and greed update for the week. We'll be putting out videos later in the week that go much more in depth. We'll be hitting live trades, but this is the grand look for what we see in the next 60 days. If we get through that 121K level, then we'll be looking for all-time highs somewhere in the area of 140 to 150K. If we do not, then we could probably chop around in there a little bit, and it will be on to the bear market. So this is a look from our previous history on fear and greed. If you liked it, please hit that like button.